this video, the ego and the pride, they're going to sit where they're supposed to, which is right on the shelf. I know everybody has been talking about the winter arc. What is the winter arc? The winter arc is basically just using these colder months that are approaching. So the remainder of October, November, December, that's not even a word, girl. Come on, get it together. Partly into January as well, but you're really utilizing these colder months just to really bring about focus, right? Really get into some introspection into yourself. I really love the idea about the winter arc because honestly, when you're doing this type of work and having this amount of focus on yourself, like I said, really having some time for introspection, you're actually going to be killing two birds with one stone, because while you're in this winter arc phase and while you have so much introspection, you actually can avoid seasonal depression. I don't know about you, but I am definitely a girly who can suffer from some seasonal depression at times. So again, when you have this focus and you have all of this intention on yourself, your true self, your inner self, you're going to be able to fight that seasonal depression off as well. So I know a lot of the winter arc videos right now are like, winter arc, change your life in 90 days or change your life by the end of the year. Honestly, it's all great content. I'm not shooting anybody's content down because quite honestly, I've done timestamps too. I have a video where I'm like, reinvent yourself in 30 days, or I have my 6-month tactical plan. This is the thing though. I'm starting to notice that I have too broad of areas that I am trying to make changes to, right? Like you guys already know, if you've been here, when I talk about a glow up, I'm talking about 80% mental glow up and 20% physical. Well, that 80% glow up for that mental area, that is a lot of territory to cover. So I want to get specific when I'm talking about this 80% glow up that I'm trying to have. I want to get specific when I am looking at the things that I actually need to change about myself. It's the specifics, it's the details that we need to start looking at that are actually going to bring about these changes. This is my perspective on the winter arc. I feel like this is an excellent time to detox your ego. So I want to use this time on the video to talk about what it looks like to detox your ego, detox your pride, actually allow yourself to get back into a season of learning. And I'm also going to be sharing with you some of the things that I'm doing personally for myself that seem to be working as far as detoxing my ego and detoxing my pride. So welcome back, my loves. As you guys can see, this is very different for me. I have no makeup on. I am not dressed. Y'all know I get on here and I'm cutesy usually, okay? Not today, because I was just compelled in this moment to make this video as is. Show up as I am right now, because this is something that is really weighing heavy on my heart right now. Like, these are the things that I need to start doing for myself to actually see the change that I'm trying to see. And I want you guys to feel that. But if you are into the cutesy stuff, the hair, the makeup, the glam, you can catch me on my short form platforms. Links are down below, because you know, here on YouTube, I am keeping it all about the conversation as far as self-growth, personal development, self-care, self-love, and all of those things. So let's go ahead and get into the talk. It's crazy to me that something can come in your path and you can have one interpretation of it at one time, but then it can come in your path again, very subtly, and you'll have a completely different interpretation if you're at a point in life where you're mentally ready to accept it. So I came across a video on TikTok the other day. Very simple video. It was just a young lady filming herself just sitting there acting like she was closing her tablet. And the text on screen basically read something along the lines of, yet again, here I am scrolling on TikTok. I see somebody else who has done the bare minimum and they've blown up overnight. And here I am doing the most and I got nothing. And I have screen time apps on my phone. I've already explained that to you guys. But right when I was about to comment, my phone shut off. And I do not play. When my screen time app is like, when screen time is done, it's done, and I'm not opening up the app again. Had I responded on that day, I would have absolutely agreed with her, because that's how I feel personally. I'm somebody that does the most. I rarely film on my camera, on my phone, because I can see the difference in quality. So what do? I film on my camera. Mostly 90% of my videos are filmed on my camera, which means what? I have to put my memory card into my laptop and I edit everything on Adobe Premiere Pro, and it's a lengthier process. But that's my approach. That's me. That's how I like to build my content. But then something happened the other day. After that day, it was like 2 or 3 days later, I came across an audio on Instagram Reels. And when I say, you guys, this audio stopped me dead in my tracks. So I want to go ahead and play the very first part of that audio that I came across.
And someday you'll realize that the life you thought you wanted is far different from the life that will actually make your soul come alive.
After I heard that audio, it made me reconsider a lot of things in my life. And I don't want to get into a deep dive into all of that. We can save that for another time. But it really made me look at things differently. And then I started going back and replaying the situation where I was about to respond to that video. And I was like, you know, that's not comparison I'm dealing with, because I'm guilty of looking at these apps and looking at my work and comparing it to somebody else's and going down that rabbit hole of, well, why am I not here or why am I not there? I'm deserving, I'm this, I'm that. I started going down that rabbit hole. But then after I heard that audio and after I started really thinking about what is it that I desire? What is it that I want for myself? I realized in that moment, I'm dealing with my ego. My ego and my pride are the issue at hand. Because think about it, when your ego is bruised, how do you start responding? You start getting extremely defensive. If you're not getting defensive, you're starting to withdraw. You don't even want to be bothered. You get very short with people. You tend to not take no for an answer. You don't want to take a step back and learn, or take a step back to just reevaluate what's going on. Your ego is bruised. So you have to keep going. You have to keep fighting. You have to show and prove, well, I'm meant to be here. Don't you see my work? I'm meant to be here. Like, that is kind of what was going on in my head at the time. But I don't want to operate out of a bruised ego anymore. I don't want to operate with bruised pride anymore. I think it's most important for us to realize when we need to take several steps back, or when we need to just take a step back to reevaluate the whole entire picture. I was watching a video from Hines the other day. You guys, I've talked about his channel before. I find so much inspiration on his channel. And I don't remember the particular video. I will have to go back in my history, and if I can find it, I will make sure that I tag it down below. But there was a point in there, kind of, again, and it just so happened that I already had this thought on my mind about using this time in the winter arc to really detox your ego. And on this specific video, he was talking about ego and pride. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's such alignment happening right now, because it just so happened that it came at the right moment. So anyway, getting into some of the details that he shared on that video, he talked about ego, pride, failure. So we have this concept in our minds where we feel like if we have to stop in the process, or if we have to take a step back in our process, that we have automatically failed. But his concept, which I totally agree with, was, what if taking a step back is actually exactly what you need in order to move forward? Like, really sit and think about this, because I feel like that is exactly what's happening in my life right now. I so desperately wanted to move forward because I didn't want my ego to be let down any more than it was. So I kept pushing along. I don't want my pride to be broken, so I have to show everybody that I can do it. I'm meant to do it. I'm meant to be here. But now I understand heavily what he was talking about when you say, take that step back. Sometimes taking that step back will bring everything else into perspective for you, so that you can actually make the steps, or take the steps forward, not make the steps. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Reevaluate, is this specifically what I'm supposed to be doing? Or maybe that was for a season and I need to shift. It doesn't matter which direction you go. As long as you're pivoting at the times that you're supposed to pivot, as long as you're taking the steps back at the moments that you're supposed to take the steps back, you will always move forward. I believe a large part of the reasons why we deal with stress, anxiety, worry, all of those negative emotions, we deal with those because we have not yet allowed our ego to be placed on the shelf, or we have not yet allowed for our ego to be detoxed and for our pride to be detoxed is truly hindering your personal growth. If you are tired of your personal growth being hindered, you need to get out of your own way. You need to get your ego, set it on the shelf, get out of your own way, and recognize that you are actually the one that has been in your way the whole time. You are the roadblock, and you need to remove yourself. Detoxing your ego is also going to be perfect for the person who feels like they are not authentically themselves. Authenticity requires a oneness. Like, you really have to be in tune with yourself. Unapologetically, like I've been talking about that a lot. Unapologetically, doing everything, being who you are, unapologetically. So when we're talking about authenticity, I don't think ego and authenticity even go in the same sentence. I don't think pride and authenticity go in the same sentence, because when you are truly being yourself, you're truly in tune with yourself, you're going to allow yourself the space to grow. You're going to allow yourself the space to recognize when you need to make a shift in your life, when you need to take a step back, when you need to kind of do some more introspection. When you are really in tune with yourself and you're really authentically being who you are, you don't get upset, you don't get bothered, you don't go through comparison. None of these things affect you at that point, because you are being who you are. So we're doing a winter detox. What is the first thing that I am going to do in my winter detox? I am going to allow stillness to take over. Sometimes we are moving so quickly in life that even when we get the signals and the flags to, hey, slow down, you need to learn this, particular thing in this season or whatever, we're moving so fast that we don't catch the signals when they happen. I am so glad that I caught the signal this time around, because what a perfect time during the winter arc to work on things like detoxing and removing these bad qualities from ourselves. So you have to have stillness in your life. Stillness can look like a lot of things. It can look like literally not going anywhere. Maybe you just need one day to lay in the bed, not do anything, not have the TV on, eat your popcorn or do whatever, but literally just lay there with your thoughts. Sometimes we get afraid of laying with our thoughts. Like, I know there was a point in time where I felt like I'm scared to be with my thoughts because I have so many, some of them are negative, some of them are positive, but just being still and allowing the thoughts to just be. Because even if you have a thought, regardless of if it's negative or positive, it's still there. But 9 times out of 10, once that thought comes into your mind, it goes away and then something else comes. So just sit still. Let those thoughts come. And in those moments, if you do find yourself having a lot more negative thoughts than positive, start shifting your energy. Start looking at or putting more focus on the things that are more positive than the negative, because you can begin to, I don't want to say control your thoughts, but you can shift them. You definitely can shift your thoughts when you start having more negative thoughts, but just stillness. Stillness is number 1 on my list. Number 2 thing on my list that I'm doing to detox my ego is asking myself, am I truly happy? Now, I know that seems very cliche. It seems very simple. Have you asked yourself recently, are you happy? Are you happy with what you're doing? Simple question. But when I answered truthfully to myself, I was not as happy as I thought I was. I did not know my desires like I thought I did. True happiness cannot be shaken. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be misplaced. It cannot be any of those things. When true happiness is radiating from within you, comparison what? Comparison is not even an issue at that point. Somebody else's video cannot steal the happiness and the joy from you. I don't care if you're in the parking lot leaving work and somebody dings your car. Now, yeah, you might be a little upset. Let's be honest. We're going to be very truthful. But what I'm saying is, even in that moment, that situation can't even steal the happiness within you. So yeah, it is a cliche question. Yeah, it is a very simple question, but it has a complex answer. Number 3 way to detox your ego during this winter arc period, I'm going to call it go back to kindergarten. And basically what I mean by that is put yourself in a mindset of learning. Like, think about when everybody starts kindergarten, we didn't know what to expect, but we were so excited. I mean, honestly, anybody can get that feeling regardless of whatever grade, but I just think about how excited kids are when they go to kindergarten, when they're ready to learn. I want you to put yourself back into that mind space. Be willing to learn everything. Be willing to accept that you don't know everything, because that is something I struggle with. Yeah, I might be very skilled at what I do. I might be very skilled at all of my talents and my hobbies, but that doesn't mean that there's no more room for learning something else or learning more or fine-tuning that craft. There are always things that are changing. So even if you learn one process, like this just came to mind. My mom is a cosmetologist, but she got her license in the late 80s. Do you guys know how much cosmetology school has changed since the late 80s? So she has to continue to fine-tune that craft, right? So that's exactly what I mean. You have to always be in a state of learning. The reason why people operate out of ego is because they don't want to learn. They think they know it all. They think they have the answers to everything, and that is not the way to grow. Number 4 way to detox your ego is to get back to journaling. I talked about that recently. I just got a new gratitude journal book off of Amazon. I didn't get the 5-minute gratitude journal. I got the gratitude journal off of Amazon. It was $10, so I'll make sure I link that below if you want to check that out. But just get a quick little book. 5 minutes, like literally that book takes me 5 minutes in the morning and maybe 2-3 minutes at night to answer 2 more questions. But when you are writing and you're journaling, you are constantly being aware of how you feel. You're constantly affirming yourself. You're constantly thinking about positive things that you can implement into your life. If you just do that small little daily dose every single day, you'll notice how it begins to change your everyday mood, your everyday processes, how you even approach your day. It'll begin to shift it in a better way so that when you're waking up, you're not first getting on your phone and doing this and doing that. You're actually stopping to just bring yourself into the present moment to say, I'm here, I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to be happy, I'm ready to embrace whatever is for me. Number 5 thing that I am doing to detox my ego, and you can do it as well, is to become slower with your responses. So a lot of the time when we are communicating, a lot of our responses are coming from ego and they come from pride. Think about when you've gotten into it with a girlfriend or something like that, and you guys are going back and forth over something silly or something extremely minor, but you're going back and forth. And the reason that you're going back and forth is because somebody responded out of ego and then somebody else responded out of their ego. So at that point, you're not even actively listening. You're not actually listening to get to the root of the problem or listening to try to even interpret what the other person is saying. You're responding because your ego is bruised at that point. And at that point, you're defensive, you're snapping back, and you're like, no, I'm not taking this because you can't hurt me. Like, my pride can't be hurt. My ego can't be hurt. So this is the problem, right? It's becoming second nature for us to respond with these huge egos that don't want to get bruised and don't want to get hurt, and our pride that doesn't want to get stepped on. We're operating in that way, and that is not light. That is not love. That is not truly who you are. All I can say is I am using all winter to go on a deep dive into my ego, a deep dive into why I think the way I think, why I respond the way I respond, because I thought about these things previously, but I thought about them from a different perspective. Now I'm thinking about them from the perspective of detoxing my ego. So I have to go back to these same areas of my life and think, okay, well, what is my ego saying about me right now? What are the things about my ego that I need to remove? Is my pride hurt? And what could have hurt my pride? I think all of us are, we get in these mindsets of we're deserving, right? Like, I'm deserving of having all of, this huge platform. I'm deserving of this brand new house and this car and all of that. It is okay for us to want to acquire certain things, right? We feel like we deserve them because we work hard, this and that. I get all of that. But are we truly deserving when our heart posture is not right? Are we truly deserving when we have cut off the supply of learning? Because you might acquire these things now, but in order to maintain them, you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to, maneuver and operate in different ways. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is totally different from my norm. Like I said, I like to get on here. I like to be cute and all of that because that's just who I am. I like to do those things for myself. I like to get dressed up. I like to have my cute little makeup on and stuff. That is what I like to do. But like I said, in this moment, this conversation just needed to be in a completely vulnerable state. I am completely vulnerable right now. I am at raw form right now. And I just wanted to do it like this so you guys can understand. Look, I'm even realizing how much work I need to do. Comment down below, tell me what you thought. I am going to go ahead and wrap because it is like way past my bedtime. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and catch you guys on the next video. Until next time, my love.